Welcome to this explainer. I am so excited to have you here today because we're diving into something absolutely fascinating, the secrets of the plant kingdom. Seriously, have you ever looked at a plant and wondered how its incredibly complex biological machinery actually works? Well, we are going to break all of it down, step by step, literally from the soil to the sky. It's going to be a really focused, energetic journey into the morphology of flowering plants. I promise you, you're never going to look at your garden or even your dinner salad the exact same way again. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the angiosperm blueprint, look at roots as the underground anchor, move on up to stems and leaves, admire flowers as the reproductive crown, and then wrap up with fruits, seeds, and the major plant families. Section 1. The angiosperm blueprint, the secrets of the flowering plant.
The plant kingdom is just massive. But here's the thing. If you understand just a few key traits of the angiosperms, you effectively unlock about 90% of the entire plant kingdom. So what makes these heavy hitters so incredibly successful? It really comes down to 3 exclusive features. First up, the production of fruits. Unlike other plant types that just leave their seeds completely exposed to the elements, angiosperms protect their seeds with a fruit wall. It's brilliant. Second, the presence of flowers, which are honestly the ultimate highly evolved reproductive structures. And third, this really unique reproductive process called double fertilization. These 3 innovations, they're exactly what make them the absolute masters of the botanical world.
Section 2. Roots, the underground anchor, building from the ground up. To truly understand a plant, we really need to begin our journey beneath the soil. We need to see exactly how a plant builds itself from the ground up, right from the very second a seed sprouts. And this brilliantly illustrates the immediate structural divergence of a brand new plant. When a seed germinates, it totally splits its duties. The root system originates from the radicle of the seed, and it dives straight into the earth. It is positively geotropic, meaning it loves gravity, and negatively phototropic, meaning it's actively hiding from the sun. In total contrast, the shoot system comes from the plumule. It basically defies gravity, reaching upwards, just desperate to soak in that sunlight. It is a perfect natural division of labor. Okay, so once those roots actually start growing, they generally fall into one of 3 main architectures. First, you have the taproot system. This is characterized by one deep main root. You'll see this in dicots, like your everyday mustard plant. Then there's the fibrous root system, which is more of a shallow, sprawling web. That one's typical of monocots, like wheat. And finally, we have adventitious roots. Now, these are the rebels. They don't even grow from the radicle at all. They sprout from totally different parts of the plant, like those massive hanging roots you see on a banyan tree, or even on a monstera houseplant in your living room. Now, if we were to zoom way in on the very tip of a root, we'd see this highly structured factory line of growth. Down at the very bottom tip is the region of meristematic activity. This is where rapid cell division is happening nonstop. As we move slightly upward from there, we hit the region of elongation. That's where those newly born cells dramatically lengthen and stretch out. And finally, closest to the soil surface is the region of maturation. Here, the cells differentiate, they specialize, and they sprout these tiny root hairs to maximize water absorption. I mean, it's a flawless assembly line.
But listen, roots do way more than just anchor a plant and drink water. They are the ultimate survivors, literally modifying themselves based on whatever environment they're in. Need to store food? Boom, tap roots swell up and become carrots and turnips. Need extra support? They turn into prop roots for banyan trees or stilt roots for sugarcane. And get this, in really tough, muddy swamps where oxygen is completely blocked, roots will actually grow upwards right out of the water as pneumatophores, just so the plant can breathe. How wild is that?
Moving on to Section 3, stems and leaves, the vegetative architecture.
So let's break the surface and move above ground. This is the vegetative architecture of the plant, where stems act as this supportive skeleton and leaves serve as the ultimate biological food factories. But stems, they are incredibly deceptive. We usually just think of them as wooden sticks, but look at these modifications. The potatoes, ginger, and turmeric we eat, yeah, those are actually swollen, underground stems, not roots. Stems can also modify into winding tendrils to support climbing grapevines, or into really sharp thorns to protect bougainvillea and citrus plants. In extreme deserts, like with the Opuntia cactus, the leaves turn into spines, and the stem flattens out entirely to take over the job of photosynthesis. It's pure survival.
Now moving out to the leaves, we find another hidden code, venation. This is basically the physical arrangement of the veins. By simply looking at this vein blueprint, you can instantly identify the plant's lineage. If the veins form a messy, web-like network, that's reticulate venation, and you know immediately you're looking at a dicot. But if the veins run in neat, parallel, straight lines, you're looking at a monocot. It's essentially nature's very own barcode system. Then we have phyllotaxy, which is how the leaves actually arrange themselves on the stem to grab the most sunlight possible. Are they alternate, like in mustard, where one leaf pops out per node in this staggering pattern? Are they opposite, like guava leaves, facing each other directly across the stem? Or are they whorled, sprouting in a circular cluster from a single point, kind of like the Alstonia plant? It's all about geometric efficiency. So we have the roots anchoring, the stems supporting, and the leaves generating all this food. But that begs a massive question. How do plants ensure their legacy after building this incredible vegetative structure? I mean, survival is great and all, but reproduction is the ultimate biological goal here. Which brings us to Section 4, Flowers, the reproductive crown, modified shoots built for legacy. Welcome to the climax of our botanical journey. Flowers aren't just, pretty to look at. They are highly modified shoots, specifically engineered over millions of years to guarantee the next generation. So the crucial point here is understanding the anatomy of a flower. Our source provides this fantastic memory trick that students use, the acronym KCAG. This stands for the 4 floral whorls from the outside in. K is for calyx, which are the protective outer sepals. C is for corolla, the colorful petals. A is for androsium, the male reproductive parts. And G is for gynecium, the female reproductive center. Just remember KCAG, and you've got the entire floral architecture memorized. The geometry of these flowers is also highly specific. Some are symmetrical from any angle, but some have zygomorphic or bilateral symmetry, meaning they can only be cut perfectly in half down one single line. So how do you remember which ones are which? Well, here's another brilliant mnemonic from our source. PG College Band. This stands for pea, gulmohar, bean, and cassia. The next time you see a sweet pea flower, you're going to know exactly why it's shaped that way. Now, let's look at where the ovary actually sits inside that flower. This sounds highly technical, I know, but it's really quite simple. In hypogynous flowers, the ovary is superior. It basically sits above everything else, like you'd see in mustard. In perigynous flowers, it's half inferior, sitting level with the rest of the parts. Just remember PRP for plum, rose, and peach. Finally, epigynous flowers have an inferior ovary, completely sunken down into the base. The memory aid here is get sun rays and coke, which gives you guava, sunflower rays, and cucumber. But even before that flower opens, the way its petals are folded up in the bud is called assivation. This geometric folding is what gives every single flower its unique shape. They might just touch at the margins, that's called valvate. They might overlap in a strict pattern, which is twisted, or overlap irregularly, which is imbricate. And then there is the highly specialized vexillary aestivation. This is where one massive petal covers the smaller ones, and it is a classic hallmark of peas and beans. Once the ovary is ready, we have to look at placentation, which is how the future seeds are attached inside. And guys, when you slice open everyday foods in your kitchen, you are literally looking at this. Slicing a tomato or a lemon. You are looking directly at axial placentation with those multiple compartments. Popping open a pea pod, that's marginal placentation running along a ridge. Understanding this literally turns a trip to the grocery store into an interactive biology lab. Finally, Section 5, Fruits, Seeds, and Families, the final products and plant lineages. So, the flower has done its job, fertilization has occurred, and now we are looking at the final products. Biologically speaking, a fruit is simply a mature, fertilized ovary. The wall of the ovary becomes the pericarp, which has 3 distinct layers. Take a look at drupes. This is a specific type of fruit like mangoes and coconuts. In a mango, the sweet, fleshy part we love to eat is the middle layer, the mesocarp. But get this, in a coconut, that exact same mesocarp layer is the tough, brown, hairy fiber on the outside. It is just amazing how the exact same biological blueprint modifies itself for completely different evolutionary goals. Now, what's really interesting here is the stark visual contrast between the seeds themselves. Dicot seeds, like peas, crack perfectly into 2 halves. Those are the 2 cotyledons storing food for the plant. Monocot seeds, like a grain of wheat, only have one single shield-shaped cotyledon.
They also feature this massive endosperm for bulk food storage, all wrapped up in a specialized protein-rich aileron layer. This seemingly tiny microscopic difference literally dictates the entire agricultural foundation of human civilization.
Finally, we organize all these incredible traits into major families. Let's look at this side-by-side comparison. Brassicaceae gives us mustard, and it's known for its distinct tetradynamous stamen arrangement. Then you've got Fabaceae, the legume family, characterized by its zygomorphic symmetry and diadelphous, or grouped stamens. Solanaceae brings us our potatoes and tomatoes with actinomorphic symmetry and epipetalous stamens attached directly to the petals. And Poaceae. That is the grass and wheat family. It's the sole monocot on this list, boasting trimerous flowers with parts in threes. Grasping this matrix basically means you can categorize almost any plant you encounter in the wild.
We have covered an incredible amount of ground today, from the very tip of the root all the way to the inside of a seed. But I want you to remember this. Every single onion leaf, potato, or mango you eat is not just food. It's a complex, highly evolved biological modification, perfectly designed for survival and legacy. So the next time you prep a meal, I challenge you to look a little closer. What other plant secrets are hiding right there in your kitchen? Keep exploring, keep questioning, and thank you so much for joining me on this explainer.